Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. It's a wonderful Wednesday night, and over the course of this video, I'll be breaking down episode 5 of Married at First Sight San Diego, as well as sharing my thoughts on the significant events that happened with each couple, and I'll be giving my overall rating for the episode. Now last week, I posted a spoiler video for which couples decide to stay married and get a divorce, and to be honest, I fully believe the spoilers. So going forward, my Married at First Sight reviews for this season will be more of a semi-deep analysis instead of a recap and react. So without any further delay, let's jump into this review. So over the course of this episode, we get to see the conclusion of Morgan and Binh's wedding, a pretty fast version of their reception, we get to see the remaining couples encounter their first challenges while getting to know each other on the honeymoon, and towards the end of the episode, Morgan and Binh join the couples on their honeymoon, and they all talk about their experience being married to a stranger. Now, if I had to give a recommendation to those who haven't seen the episode yet, whether you should check it out or avoid it, I would say avoid it. There's definitely a lot going on in this episode, but there's plenty of cringe-worthy moments, and I'll be happy to talk about them. Let's first talk about Morgan and Binh, and I picked them first because they have the shortest scenes out of the other couples, which in my opinion lends some credibility to the rumors about them. In my opinion, there were 3 things worth mentioning about them for this episode. For one, I strongly believe that from a personality standpoint, Morgan and Binh are like oil and water when together. Morgan is the assertive and the take control type, while Binh is the easygoing and always smiling type. And Morgan's friend mentioned on the first episode that Morgan's husband not only needs to be strong, but he needs to also acknowledge that Morgan is a strong woman. And in that, he needs to know how to handle her. Right off the bat, I have serious doubts that Binh will be able to handle somebody like Morgan, because she's just too much for him. Secondly, there may be trouble in paradise when it comes to the topic of children. Morgan, in a roundabout way, admits that she does not want to have kids, at least not right now, while Binh said that having kids is important to him. And in my opinion, something as significant as the topic of having kids could be considered a deal breaker, and I don't see either Morgan or Binh compromising on the issue. Lastly, Morgan looks completely different without makeup on. After the wedding, she takes off her makeup, and I'm not saying she's ugly. However, the makeup that she was wearing is certified sorcery and witchcraft, and this is because there's no way that the before and after pictures are of the same person. But this episode completely skips Morgan and Binh meeting each other's family members, which not only seems to be a red flag, but lends some credit to the spoilers. Now let's move on to Stacia and Nate. We first learned that the steamy shower scene that they filmed last episode was a fluke. And I kind of knew that when they shot that because Stacia seems to be a very private person. But the experience did intrigue Stacia, and she makes it known that she holds the keys to P-Valley, and if Nate wants to take a trip there, he needs to get on her program. Now what I found interesting about Stacia in this episode was that before she and Nate went ATV riding, she shares in her production interview that she is essentially using the experience to see if Nate will cater to her needs and be a gentleman in making sure that she's good. But Nate obviously didn't get the memo, and he spends the majority of his riding experience speeding ahead of her and filming the experience for his fans on social media. This bothers Stacia, and she lets Nate know that it bothers her. But if we're being honest, it also bothers me as well. For one, the two of them are in Mexico for vacation. They really don't know each other at this point, and Stacia is expecting Nate to read her mind. Granted, as a man that's in a relationship, I know better than to do what Nate did on this activity, but I'm also older than Nate, and I took the time to know what my girlfriend really needs from me when we're out in public. But this whole scene just seemed like Stacia was testing Nate without really telling him she was testing him. I was also a little uneasy about the dinner scene. During this scene, Stacia asked Nate about his bankruptcy, which I think is a pretty fair topic. But when Nate lets her know what happened, Stacia gives Nate an ultimatum and says if he wants to remain married to her, then he would need to agree to a postnup so that she can protect her assets. Now Nate agrees to this demand because it's either this or return back to being single. But a few moments later, they talk about having kids, and Stacia wants to have them ASAP, while Nate wants to wait a few years to make sure he has kids with the right person. Now I find it ironic that Stacia feels some type of way about this. And this is because Stacia wants Nate to assume that she's the right person and that she has good intentions. But she doesn't want to take that chance with Nate when it comes to finances. Now I know what the spoilers say about this couple, but I'm still on the fence about how they make it to that point. Moving on to Lindy and Miguel. In my opinion, they had the most boring scenes out of the other couples, and this was because most of their scenes were geared towards getting to know each other and sharing their life experiences. But I do believe that them getting to know one another has helped them become vulnerable with one another. The only other thing worth mentioning about this couple is towards the end of the episode, Miguel gives Lindy a nice PG-13 massage, and it made Lindy feel like a Little Caesars pizza, hot and ready. There's clearly chemistry between these two, and I like to see how the two progress in the upcoming episodes. Next, there's Alexis and Justin, and I gotta say, the more I see Justin on this season of the show, the more I'm embarrassed for him. And deep down, I guess I'm just wishing that his brother would make an appearance on the show, pull Justin to the side and talk to him like a man. One of the scenes I think worth mentioning for this episode was when Alexis and Justin went horseback riding. Alexis is wearing this red outfit with the chesticles out, and the whole time, I was just waiting for a Janet Jackson Super Bowl moment to happen. But during this activity, as well as the dinner later on, Justin is being overly affectionate, and he's telling Alexis that he loves her and that he's in love with her. This, in my opinion, is complete madness, because he knows little to nothing about Alexis, yet he's head over heels in love with her without her showing any signs that she's going to reciprocate the feelings. In my opinion, Justin could have been matched with any cast member from the past season of Married at First Sight, and he would have been in love with them as well. Which makes me wonder if Justin is just desperate to be loved, or if his self-esteem is suffering. But it's clear that Alexis is nowhere near being in love with Justin, and she might be keeping one foot out of the door of the relationship. But seeing Justin start to cry when Alexis didn't say I love you in return was alarming, and it's clear that he's too emotional at this point in the journey. And lastly, let's talk about Krysten and Mitch. I've probably watched every season of Married at First Sight, and I can only think of one time that a husband did everything that he possibly could to intentionally talk his way out of some honeymoon punani. But Mitch really fumbled the ball when he told Krysten to her face that he wasn't attracted to her. Now don't get me wrong, I know it's still early in the process, but I know for a fact that there have to be a number of men from past seasons who would have loved to have been matched with somebody like Krysten, especially after seeing her wearing that black bikini. But Mitch got in his own way and gave Krysten mixed signals about how he felt, despite Krysten telling him point blank that she wanted to have sex on the honeymoon. I find this situation to be intriguing because Mitch seems to be the exact opposite of Justin, in that Justin is head over heels in love, whereas Mitch won't even make himself emotionally available for Krysten. Towards the end of the episode, Mitch finally comes around and makes a move on Krysten, but by this time, he had talked himself out of a round trip to Pound Town. Their scene ends with Krysten giving Mitch an ultimatum. Either he have sex with her and tell her that he loves her, or she will ask for a divorce. And while I commend Krysten for being upfront with what she wanted from Mitch, I do feel that fans will support Krysten for being direct, while shaming any of the male cast members who would have said the same thing to their wives. But overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give this episode a solid 4. It was better than the previous episodes, but I still could have done without seeing it. And this marks the end of the review. What did you think about the episode or my review? Feel free to leave your comments below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to reply to everybody. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.